Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I am Kevin, and that is Taylor. Getting ready to go over the nice Monday 5-gamer main slate over at
Tuesday.
DraftKings. Okay. Already off to a great start. Okay, it's Tuesday. Maybe I'm just trying to forget Monday even happened because that Pels value. Dear God, the Pels value. If that happened to you, you weren't alone because I also had some fears in my lineups and just really sinking me. Anyways, that is just the way it goes. Got to trust the process and get back to it. So Tuesday does have a 5-game slate. A lot of studs up top. A lot of value already. Taylor said before we went live here that Chet is ruled out. So that's something that is going to open up some salary saving opportunities for sure. Point being, we are here to help you win, and hopefully we can do that. If we do help you in any way, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also come join us in our free Discord if you want our premium plays for everything that we do. It's just $5.99 a month over at dfsbuild.com. All right, let's get to it. Since it's not a very big slate, we're just going to go game by game here and start on the Philly side. Sixers went nuts last night. So obviously we do have to consider that they are on a back-to-back set here. And Embiid will be back after sitting out last night, but they do get the Wizards. So kind of not worried about the rest factor whatsoever. I guess there's just the mild concern that Embiid being limited at like 20 minutes or whatever still has some usage. So he cuts into these guys a little bit. But Philly looks good. I would start with VJ, but you could talk me into anybody really.
Yeah, I mean, Edgecombe has played like 39 or more minutes in like almost every game, if not every game. So role's been monstrous. He's getting usage even with Embiid in those games. He's been one of the focal points offensively along with Maxey. So still too cheap, 6,500. Good positional eligibility, shooting guard, small forward. So you can play him in the maximum number of spots, which is always helpful. I don't really see much of a need to get away from him. The matchup against the Wizards is going to be outstanding all season again. So he's a core play. Just no real reason to get away from that. The rest of the Sixers are a little tougher. Like Maxey is getting pricey. Embiid is back. I expect him to be fine. I think he's a good play. I'm not quite as interested as I was last night. I think he'll be more owned tonight. Embiid himself has only played like 20 minutes a game so far. He looked better in the last game than he did in the first one, but if he's limited, it's kind of hard to have a lot of faith in that at 8,200. So kind of still paying for not full Embiid, but something closer to it. So no real need to get there. Oubre, Grimes, fine, but secondary at best.
Yeah, if I was going to do that, I would definitely go Oubre. I think I was mostly suggesting VJ and Maxey. Maxey just has like basically a limitless ceiling at this point, just monster usage rate. He's been super productive, really nice projection, still isn't pushing 10K. I guess just the dark cloud of Embiid hanging over him maybe, limits that to some degree, but he still looks really good. I don't think he's a priority for me. I think it's VJ, but you can definitely pair them together, and you could certainly play Maxey as a spend up leverage on VJ, who is going to be owned. And by the way, he is a rookie, so like he could come back crashing down to earth every now and then. Of course, it'd be only so fitting for it to come in a smash spot against the Wizards. But on paper, VJ is the play. If you want to play other Sixers, I don't have a problem with it. On the other side, the Wizards, a lot of like nice mid-range plays here. Like I don't really want to play Alexander Sarr against Embiid, but it's not like he's going to get a full game of Embiid, and he has been good. I think at 6'7", he's okay. I don't have a problem with him. His minutes are kind of capped. He's going to be a little bit owned, and obviously not the greatest matchup, but he's just an okay mid-range play. Everybody else is kind of just there. Like McCollum at 6'3" feels cheap. Still not the best spot in the world. And I don't know how much of a consistent ceiling he gives you anymore. But 6'3" McCollum still feels like something we should have some interest in. And then everybody else here is just kind of eating into each other, like Middleton and Bub and Trey and Kaishan. Like nobody really stands out, I think. I think if I was going to do anything, it would probably be Sarr or CJ.
Yeah, CJ is a good price at 6'3". The minutes should be okay as long as the game is competitive. No idea if it will be. Like Washington is not good, but Philly is on a back-to-back, so maybe that helps. I'm currently getting a lot of him. I don't feel great about it, but I think on this site it's okay. I think my favorite play in the entire game, aside from Edgecombe, is Trey Johnson at 4,800. If he plays, he's questionable with a back injury, but getting usage. He was a scoring wing in college. That's what the Wizards lottery picked him for. And he's cheap. The minutes have been decent so far. I think a blowout probably helps him, if assuming he plays, obviously. But for under 5K, for not a lot of ownership on a small slate, I think he's a really good option. If he's out, I would have more interest in a guy like Cam Whitmore, but I think the leash is pretty short on Whitmore. Like, he's already kind of feuding with the coach. He's been reprimanded for kind of throwing tantrums and stuff so far. So not a
How's that
safe
for
play,
first season?
but
Yeah.
he's 4K and historically a good per minute guy.
Yeah, there is value on the slate, but I'm not against you on the Tez thing. He is a good player. 20%
Right.
plus usage rate in 3 straight games. If he's not in, though, Bob Carrington actually looks okay at 4.7.
Yeah, I don't mind that in that scenario. Not really interested in Bub if Trey Johnson
Right.
plays.
Agreed.
Keyshawn kind of came back to earth in the last game. He had
sure
60
did.
games ago and 22 in the last one, but the role's been good. He just shot poorly, but he's getting minutes. The issue is he's pricey. So if you want to chase that, I think it's okay, but it doesn't really feel sustainable.
No, 6.6 for Keyshawn George feels bad for sure. But the role is good, like you said. So there's that. LaMelo Ball went ballistic in his last game, 84 fantasy points, 61 fantasy points the game before that. By the way, he was facing the Wizards, I think, in the last game. So just queue up all those guys facing Washington, like you were saying before. Comes in with a good projection, 51-point fantasy projection, still priced under 10K. Miami, not a great matchup, but it's LaMelo Ball. The ceiling is there. I don't mind it. There's other guys I'd rather pay for, but there's nothing wrong with them. Miles Bridges at 7.5, okay. I think Colin Sexton at 5.4 is really.
I don't know if you froze or I did. Might be you. Oh.
Back?
Well, yeah, you are.
Okay. That'll happen. Sometimes you get cut out. That's what happens with a live show, baby. We got DFS Buddy who said, here, let's see what he's got here. He said Mitchell, if no Powell and Hero, Rollins, if no Anthony and Gary Trent. We'll get to them in a little bit for sure. All right. So on the Hornets side, do you want to do the Kalkbrenner dance? Like, I mean, he is a good value. He has been starting games. Like, I don't mind it at 4.6. I do think Sexton at 5.4 is the main thing I'm doing here. But the Hornets do have some cheap guys we can look at.
I think Diabate is probably a guy I like a little bit more for 400 less than Kalkbrenner off the bench. They've been pretty volatile with the minute. Kalkbrenner bench halftime a couple of games ago. Still started the next day, but 22 minutes for him. Let's see. Diabate got 23. So kind of a toss-up. Ownership skews toward one of them, which I don't really think either of them's going to be popular tonight. I think you just play the other one, but on this slate, I'm not really dying to the Hornets center rotation. And I think you froze again. Other Hornets, like LaMelo, obviously at 9.7 is going to be the top guy. Not chasing 87 fantasy points or whatever he had in the last game, but the role without Brandon Miller is really good. I think his usage was like 35% without Miller last season. And, you know, Miami, while not a great matchup, has been playing faster. So not quite as grim as it's been against them over the past couple of years. Bridges 7.5 is okay. We've seen him reach 9K before in this kind of situation. So you can argue he's a little bit cheap for the ceiling he offers. In general, I have more interest in the Miami side. Like Charlotte, while they have a couple of impressive wins in terms of margin of victory, I think they were against the Nets and the Wizards, so we can kind of take that with a grain of salt. But someone mentioned the Norm Powell thing. He's questionable. If he's out, more minutes and usage for guys like Wiggins, for Davion Mitchell, Jaime Jaquez in particular looks pretty good to me. And then Nikola Jovic, regardless of whether he starts, is a pretty good value. And I guess Kevin froze once again. I think Jaquez at 4.5 is my favorite value in this game. Been getting minutes.
My internet is really just taking a shit.
Yeah, you're
This is
kind of not
insane.
really there.
It doesn't even give me any alert that I'm getting kicked out. It doesn't do anything. That's insane.
That's fun. That's fun. We're just
Anyways,
saying Hawkeyes, I
Bam
think,
looks
is my
great up
favorite
top.
value
I'll just
here.
say
I
that.
love Bam as well at 8K against the Hornets. Like his ceiling is kind of erratic, even without Tyler Hero, but for 8K, I'm willing to buy low on him for sure.
Yeah, I'm okay with these other secondary plays for Miami, but for me, it's mostly Bam or bust. All right, Knicks in Milwaukee. Towns is questionable, but he's been questionable every game. Jalen Brunson is way too cheap at 8.1. He looks awesome. If you're going to play one of them, he is the one. But honestly, Cat's really cheap too. So if you want to play Cat, I don't have a problem with that. Not really super interested in any of the other Knicks guys. I guess if McBride were to start again, he's cheap, but I don't know. I don't think we have to do that. I think it's Brunson or bust here.
Yeah, I think I like Towns a little bit more. Just point guard on this slate has a lot more sort of value and spends to prioritize than Brunson. And Towns, while he's been like banged up, he's been playing well through injury. And I like the matchup against Milwaukee for him. So I think I would lean Towns in that scenario, but not a huge difference between them. Anunoby is okay, 63. I think there's some upside on that. But that's kind of it. I'm not really getting to Bridges. I won't be playing McBride, even if he starts. Josh Hart's been off the bench. So kind of Towns, a little bit of Brunson, a little bit of Anunoby, and that's kind of it.
All right, over on the Bucks side, Giannis is a god. He had 80 fantasy points in his last game. The Knicks have been pretty good on the interior, actually, on the year. I don't think they really have anybody that can stop the Greek Freak, though. So he looks really good. The only issue is he's almost 12K. Not that interested in Bucks, but the Knicks have been kind of not great against defending the outside shot. So I guess you could take a chance on 4.7 Gary Trent and Ryan Rollins at 5.2 with KPJ out. I think he looks like a solid value.
Yeah, I'm not getting to as much of the Bucks value as I was the other night, even on a smaller slate. Giannis is fine. I think he's kind of a secondary play. I don't really love spending nearly 12K on him in this spot.
No.
So it could be better. Obviously, that could burn me horribly, but
I mean, it feels bad to ever say that, but he is almost 12K, and it's a small sample size. But so far, the Knicks have actually been pretty good inside. So
and
it's
they
just
were
not really
the last couple of years. They've been among the best teams in terms of limiting paint points.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson being there helps, and he's not there tonight, so that's something. But
true.
There's a lot of mid-range value as well. Like we'll get to the Clippers, the Warriors. We mentioned Miami has stuff. The Sixers have mid-range guys. So spending on us always fine. Not sure it's a must on this slate. Otherwise, I think Miles Turner at 6-1 is okay in a tournament. Low ownership. Been kind of mediocre for the Bucks so far, but we know he has some upside if his shots are falling from outside. Rollins, not psyched about that at 5.2. Cole Anthony is probable, I believe. Had a big roll off the bench with KPJ out 2 games ago when he was in. So you can always chase his ceiling, but on this slate, it's not my favorite value.
Yeah, Miles Turner's projection isn't very sexy, but in the name of Lauri Markkanen, that sometimes doesn't matter, does it? Jeez. All right, so moving on, we got Kings visiting OKC. So Sacramento Sabonis is always in play, just a really terrible matchup. So I'm not really eager to pay 9.3K for him. And the Kings are pretty healthy as well. So trying to figure out which one of these guys might pop off in a brutal spot with Alex Caruso back, it just feels like, not really a situation I want to invest in heavily. We got a Mr. Continental here saying it's Kuzma season. LOL. I was going to say, by the way, Kuzma is just like, this is like the biggest fumble ever because he got put into a situation where he's like a big 3 for the Bucks and he's just like, he does nothing. So it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, not really on Kuzma, but I can see why you play him.
All right, so for the Kings side, anybody you interested in there?
So 9.3 looks cheap for Sabonis, but on this team, this horrible roster with all sorts of high usage guards, he's just kind of getting lost in the shuffle. He has a 14% usage rate through 2 games. So the ceiling may really not be there. He's not really getting assists either so far. They just have guys like Levine and Schroeder and Monk and DeRozan and Westbrook using possessions, and there's not a whole lot left for Sabonis so far. And they're playing the Thunder on the road. So fine. It looks like he's getting some ownership. I will be on that, I think, pretty heavily. Levine at 7-4, DeRozan at 7-6, I have more interest in, but it's still a really tough spot. Like you said, Caruso's back. Cason Wallace is healthy, so they do have, and Lou Dort, they have their best wing defenders available. So tough spot overall. Schroeder at 5-7, I think is okay, but much more interest in general in the Thunder than the Kings.
This has to be a typo, right? With the total at 119 to 109, making the Kings 10-point favorites.
Yes, I think that should be flipped.
That would be an error. All right, so the OKC side, SGA almost 11K here. He's kind of gone back and forth this year as far as exhibiting that ceiling and kind of doing nothing. But if people don't want to play him, 10.9K SGA on a 5-game slate is pretty appealing, especially since it saves you almost $1,000 compared to Giannis, and he does have massive upside. Caruso is back. J Dub remains out. I feel like somebody else is out for OKC. You said Chet. Yes, Chet. So no Chet puts Aaron Wiggins big time in the conversation, and Hartenstein gets a little bit of a boost too. So I'm pretty interested in a lot of the OKC value. It's just going to come down to like, which ones do you really feel good about? I'd say right now I would be building around Wiggins, but I don't have a problem with a Jay Mitchell or Cason Wallace. Like everybody has a bit of an argument, I'd say.
Yeah, I think the one that doesn't is Dort, just because he's not really a
Right.
guy who's ever going to burn you. If his shots are falling and he makes 8 threes, then you just move on and play tomorrow. But not really into that. I think Wallace is a really good play at 4-6. We've seen upside from him already. Hartenstein's my favorite, maybe my favorite play on the whole slate at 6,300 without Chet. The Kings on Sabonis do not really have a whole lot of front court talent. So it is a good spot. He can kind of stuff the stat sheet a little bit. I prefer him to Miles Turner if I'm hunting that range for a center. Beyond that, I think AJ Mitchell, still under 5K. He's been excellent so far. High usage bench roll. I like that a little bit. And then SGA, I actually have more Giannis than SGA, and I don't have a ton of Giannis relative to the field, but I just kind of think the way it's trending, it's more of a balanced build than a stars and scrubs build.
Yeah. My first look today, it was definitely a balance thing. Like, I don't know if that means you can't go get like a Maxi or a Ball, but I do think paying up for SGA or Giannis isn't something I feel compelled to do. You know, if that's going to make them contrarian in the name of Jokic, like it's okay to play them. I just don't think they're fully necessary. All right, last game of the night, Clippers against the Warriors. You got James Harden looking really good. Kawhi Leonard looks kind of even better, $1,000 cheaper and a similar projection. I like them both a lot. Zubats 6.9 against the Dubs. Obviously, he could always get run off the floor, but he looks okay. Not really into anybody else, but Kawhi and Harden, the hammer plays, they look really good.
Yeah, I love them both. I love Zoo. Ownership favors Kawhi over Harden as of now. I think I would flip that. I like the Harden side a little bit more expensive, but I just think his floor is more reliable and the ceiling is obviously there. So love that. We saw Bogdanovic at the last game with Bradley Beal out. Didn't play well at all, but he's 3,400 on a slate without a whole lot of punt value. If he starts again, guard forward eligibility, I have some interest in that. Actually, a ton of him in my lineups as of.
But that feels good.
Yeah, not really. John Collins, I think at 5-2 off the bench is also interesting. I don't really think Zoo is at risk of getting run off the floor just because Golden State, like, while they're small, they still generally have someone like Draymond on the floor at all times. And Horford, I think, is available. So I think it's decent with him. 6,900 is pretty cheap for Zubac, so I'm pretty well over the field on him as well. And that's kind of it. I'm not really into Chris Dunn and all that shit. So, yeah.
Nor should you be. All right, on the Warrior side, we got Steph, who is just the same guy that we always thought he was. If you play him, he gets like 40. And if you fade him, he gets 40 real points and pushes for 70 fantasy points. So he's always going to be a play. 9-1 does not have a great projection. Like if you look at it just from a projection standpoint, like I would much rather play Harden and Kawhi and Cat and Brunson. Like, there's just so many other guys who look better. Bam, even, so obviously not the same position, but you get the point. That said, if nobody's going to be on 9-1 Curry, hammer play Curry, that is interesting to me. Jimmy Butler is a better value at 7-8, not really popping in terms of projections, not really a great matchup, but he's definitely in play. Don't hate Kuminga or Draymond as mid-range plays, not into pod really, and not really into the value here.
Yeah, I'm not getting any of Curry or Jimmy at the moment, and it's kind of scary, but it's not a good spot, like you said. They're not cheap either. There's just a lot of other mid-range stuff I'd rather prioritize. I do agree that Kuminga at 6'2" is a pretty good play, assuming he continues to start. Again, not a good spot in general for Golden State, but I'd rather pay less for someone like Kuminga than Butler on this slate. Podziemski 6K is fine as a low-owned flyer. Like, he will pop off every now and again, but this probably isn't the spot to chase it. So doesn't feel great, but I'm a lot more on the Clippers than the Warriors.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Harden, Kawhi. Obviously, I think I will go out of my way to get to a little bit of Jimmy and Curry just because I think that's going to be popular for people to go to Kawhi and Harden. And I also just kind of like the idea of going balanced with that 4-pack to some degree, kind of closing out this for me. It obviously could just be a defensive battle, and these guys could just kind of meet their projections and it not work out at all. But we also know that they all have individual upside too. All right, so we know that we're kind of both looking at going a little bit more balanced. Balanced or not, who is your top stud that you're getting to the most?
Let's see. I think it's probably gonna be Harden on this slate. If Bam counts as a stud, he would be highest owned 8K and above guy at the moment. Mentioned Kawhi. So it's just like a balanced build. Like, Giannis is there, Shea is there, but the dusting of that, LaMelo Ball is there, but I think he might be a little over-owned after his huge game the other night. So just prefer the Harden kind of Bam tier. I think you can build that way without making too many risky deep dives on the value side, and hope Giannis doesn't put up 90 fantasy points.
Yeah, that would definitely be the help. I think I'm there too. I don't think I'm going to go out of my way really to prioritize Giannis or SGA. I think if I did go out of my way for anybody, it would be Curry, and it's kind of against my better judgment. Like, I don't really see him as a necessity, but for some reason, I kind of feel like it could be one of those Curry games. But that is all of the noisy. What about the one value play that stands out?
Let's see. There's really, I think, like, the value is pretty risky. Like, Colin Sexton might be owned at a heavy clip. I think he's a good play, but there's certainly downside with that. I think my favorite's Jaquez on the other side of that game, not looking like he's going to be mega owned. The role has been pretty good. Like, we know the Miami forward rotation can go south in a hurry. Like, we've seen Jaquez burn us in a big way multiple times, especially last season, but he's affordable. He's shown some ceiling. Charlotte is a good matchup. Miami is a high total. Feels horrible, but I think Jaquez is my favorite cheap play on the slate.
Yeah, I never feel great about Jaquez, but I see what you're saying
Nope.
there. I'm going to be interested to see. Did I dip out again?
No, I was agreeing with you
Oh,
that he's not.
okay, yeah,
a
no, I know,
ceiling
right?
play.
So I'm going to be interested to see where the Ryan Rollins ownership lies. So there's no KPJ. If everybody is on Sexton and everybody's getting excited about the OKC values, like, I'm with you with like the logic. Those guys all look great. I think if I was going to play one OKC value, and probably right now my favorite value would be Wiggins. But if nobody's going to be on Rollins, I'm going to be very over on Rollins. It also just gives you natural leverage against potential Giannis ownership, just to go get exposure to one of those Bucks guys and hope that they end up getting done. So I mean, the Knicks are 21st against fast break and 23rd against the three. So they're giving up shots outside and they're giving up production down the court because they want to go slow. If they can't go slow, they're going to get cooked. So that is where the fading Giannis thing could become a problem. But hopefully we can get kind of access to that matchup with somebody like Rollins, or I think you had mentioned Gary Trent as well, but you're not really into the Bucks value Are you? Okay. All right. Anyways, that will probably do it for
I
us.
think you
Hopefully,
mentioned Gary Trent. I don't think
I
put him up.
mentioned Gary Trent. I think, yeah, you're right. Because I just think matchup wise, if they're struggling to defend the outside shot, perhaps Gary Trent could get some open looks here. Obviously Giannis going in and kicking it out, that is a thing for Milwaukee and all. All right, that will do it for us. Hopefully it helps you out. If it does, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, come join us in Discord if you're not already there. And we wish you luck tonight.